Hi everyone, welcome to the Laser channel. My name is Greg, and in this video I'm going to be talking about the Atomstack X20 Pro machine. Stay tuned to learn all about this machine. This machine from Atomstack was sent to me by Shane. He had contacted me and was wondering if I was interested in doing a product review on this X20 Pro machine, and I have some experience with the Atomstack family of machines, and of course I was all on board. Let's jump into it and open the box. I want to show you how the machine is packaged and what the individual components look like. But don't worry, I'm going to move on very quickly and mainly just in the background talk about some of the features of the machine and a little bit about the company Atomstack. With that covered, it's time to crack this open and check it out. Now, Atomstack is a company that I would consider to be a premium brand company, and the reason why I believe this is because they've been around for a while and they've been manufacturing laser machines for quite some time, and it's kind of a place that you can go to and get all the accessories that you need all in one stop and know that they all work with the machine. Now, the first thing that I see is going to be an aluminum or stainless steel plate. This is typically used for the backer board for Honeycomb. And by the way, when this box came in, this thing, it has some weight to it and it's much heavier than I expected it would be. This machine with everything in the box is much heavier than a lot of the other machines that I've taken a look at on this channel. Now, the first question that a lot of people have when they look at the Atomstack X20 machine, whether it's the A20, S20, or X20, is what's the difference between all of the model numbers? And it's simply just the color of the machine. All of the accessories and features of the machine are all the same. The first thing that I took out after I took the first protective foam off the top is all the manuals that come with the machine. There's one specific for the machine, and there's another one just for the app that works with the machine, and a separate manual just for the air assist pump. So they've got that split up a little bit, which actually simplifies things. And here is one of the really neat things. This is the pump for the air assist kit. So this thing is massive and this thing blows. Quite literally, it flows a lot of air, which is exactly what we're looking for. Next out of the box are some side rails. These are all metal, all aluminum, and because they were in the same compartment in the box, one of them is wrapped with plastic so it does not scratch the other unit. And some of these components, they're very snug in the foam, which is what I like to see because that means it's not going to shift around and get damaged during packaging or, shipping. And this is the 20-watt laser module. Next, I've got a couple tubes for the air assist kit, the power cable, and a brush that wants to fly away, and some more power connectors. And of course, some safety glasses. This is an open frame machine, so whenever you're using this without a laser enclosure, definitely protect those eyes. And I just love the way everything is compartmentalized in here, and it's a very straightforward packaging. Those are some legs for the standoffs. I'll set those off to the side. And here I've got a little bracket. This is going to be the focusing gauge for setting the focus on the laser machine. And next out is this display. This machine does have a touchscreen display with that. And this machine can be operated by a computer. It can also be operated by a phone app, or it can be operated locally by this touchscreen that I just pulled out. So very versatile depending on what your needs are. And again, a lot of these components, or actually all of the components, are very well packaged inside the shipping box. And here's the controller board, and on the back is a Wi-Fi connector. So this machine, when you connect your computer up to it, you can do that either with a USB cable that is included or with Wi-Fi. I'm just checking the rest of the components and any secret compartments here. And down below here, I've got the main power pack, and this is really neat. This is a pretty sizable power pack. This is one of the things that I look for, is a large power pack. As the machine power and size gets larger, so too should the power supply that comes with the machine. Here comes the next frame machine out of the box. And again, very snugly packaged in this foam. And what I really like about the Atomstack machine is this top gantry. It comes all pre-assembled. And the other really neat thing is the belt is already tensioned. So later on in the assembly of this, one of the other common questions is, how tight should I tension the belts? And this upper gantry, I always point people towards set the tension to what this component is. It's a really simple way to get a good reference point on how tight to make the belts. And here's the second frame member. The first frame member that I pulled out was wrapped in plastic, and that's because these two frame members were in the same compartment, and this being wrapped in plastic will not damage or scratch the frame member right next to it. I think that's going to be all of the components out of the box here. Yep, that looks good. I'll take a quick second here just to lay all the pieces and parts out on the table. Off camera, I'm going to do a quick inventory. I always love doing that, making sure I've got all the pieces and parts before I start the assembly. I took a look at all the pieces and parts, and of course they're all here, and I want to draw your attention to a couple of the parts that was in this accessory bag, and those are going to be the assembly fasteners. And I want to just point out that each bag is labeled as to what is in it, but more so this first bag says step 1 for the assembly process, and then bag number 2, of course, is for step number 2, and it too also lists the components that are inside of this bag. It's going to make assembly a real breeze, and these are all the fasteners for putting the frame together, just these 2 small bags. And step 3 in this third bag are the belts that run along both sides of the machine. Inside that accessory bag is also a cloth. This is what I use to clean the laser lens on this main module. And it's a very nice high quality cloth, so I like to keep that in the bag after use to keep any dust or oils off of it. Also included in the accessory bag is a spare lens for the laser module. It's really neat that they include this with the package. This machine also includes the tool set needed to put everything together. This is quite common, but what is uncommon with the Atomstack machine is these are real professional grade tools. These Allen wrenches that they supply, these are my preferred type of Allen wrenches because they're high quality, they're chrome coated so that they will not rust, and this end, we call this a ball end, and when you're tightening down or loosening up a fastener, and it's in tight quarters, that ball end allows the wrench to pivot around to clear any obstacles that are in the area. The wrench that is included is an actual real drop forged wrench. It's not a stamped piece of sheet metal, and this wrench is used when adjusting the guide rollers that are found throughout the rail system, and these are used to loosen up or tighten the nuts. The last thing that I pulled out of the accessory bag is this USB card reader. Now this card reader does have an SD card in it, and I want to take a look at that before I start the assembly process, not only because it might have an updated manual should I get stuck with the included paper manual with the machine, but it will oftentimes have a variety of reference files on this SD card, and I always like to make a backup of this on my computer. Let's do this right now. Let's check out what's on this SD card. With all of the files copied over to the computer, I can set this off to the side, but after I'm done assembling the machine and before I power the machine on, I will be taking the SD card out of this reader and installing it on the main controller board. That main controller board does need this SD card installed for it to operate correctly. Off camera, I spent a few minutes familiarizing myself with the manual and how the machine goes together. And while I put the machine together, I'm going to do this in a segmented time lapse. The machine is all assembled and all the electrical connections have been made. Everything is very straightforward and the manual is very clear in explaining how to mechanically assemble the machine along with all the electrical connections. The manual also includes a number of areas, including tips on areas to further assist you putting the machine together. I'm all set to connect the machine up to the Lightburn software in the computer. Before I do that though, I want to let you know that I do have some product links in the video description down below. Now with that covered, let's do a quick fly around of the machine on some of the neat things that I found while assembling this machine. When assembling the frame, there's a bolt that goes in here, and this is going to be true in all four corners, so that is correct that the frame bolts together with only 8 fasteners, and this frame is self-squaring, so as I put everything together, I just slowly snugged up all of those fasteners, and there's no need to put a square to make sure that the machine is true and square. Moving around to the back side of the machine, I did square up the gantry, this portion here, against the frame, and what I did is I just spied this bolt that sticks out against the frame beam. There's a little ridge that comes along here, and I made sure that that was in line all the way across the machine, and it's very common when installing the 2 belts to both sides here that your gantry frame will be crooked a little bit. The manual does talk about how to correct that. And what I did again is I just lined it up with this line here on the frame. And then I loosened up this coupler right here. And that allows this frame to pop up perfectly square to the rest of the machine. When I was running the cables on here, before I put down zip ties to secure the cables in place so that any of the flexing of the cable does not go directly into the connectors, all of the cable flex is in this section here, and it doesn't travel up to the connector, creating a weak point from wires wiggling. Now, before I put those zip ties down, I moved the laser machine to its further extent to make sure that there is plenty of play in the cables so that nothing was strained. The last thing I'm going to do before powering the machine up for the first time is I'm going to remove the SD card from the USB card reader, and I'm going to install the SD card into this main controller board. And now I'm all set to power up the machine. I've got everything all set. I'm ready to power the machine on. So I'm going to remove this protective material on the touch screen, and I can turn the power on. And I'm going to make sure that the e-stop button is reset so that the machine is fully powered up. There was a little tag that was on here on the side, letting users just like myself and you to make sure that this is in fact reset. Once we have the machine configured in Lightburn software, we're going to stop back out and take a close-up look at this nice touchscreen. But first, let's get the machine connected to Lightburn software. This is what Lightburn software looks like when it's first started, and the main area that I want to look at is the screen area down here. Now in Lightburn software, what's really nice is that I run all the machinery in this shop off of one software package. That's why I highly recommend using Lightburn, because it works on laser diode machines, CO2 laser machines, and any compatible fiber laser Galvo machine that's on the market. Here we'll see that it is trying to connect to a machine that was already previously configured in Lightburn software, and it's trying to do that on this communication port. So the very first thing I want to do is make sure that this says choose. If it says anything else, then the Lightburn software is going to have a very difficult time trying to auto-detect the new machine connected. This looks good, and I can click on Devices. And here I'm going to click on Find My Laser. I'll click Next. This will take just a second or two, and it should come back with it found a machine with a work area of 400 by 400 millimeters, which is this machine. I'll click Add Device, and I'm going to call this the X20 Pro. Now click Next. And it wants to know where the origin of the laser is. And this is another way of the software asking, where will the machine home? And for this machine, it is going to be the front left corner. Down below is Auto Home, your laser on startup. I always like to turn this off just because when I first turn on the machine, sometimes I have some project material left over in the work area, and as soon as I turn the machine on, I don't want the machine doing that automatic home position. So I turn mine off, but feel free to use whatever works best for you. This looks good, and I'll click Next. And here I can see some of the text is cut off a little bit, so I can come down here to the corner and I can make this window a little bit bigger, and it's going to show the summary of how it's connecting up to the machine using a serial USB cable, the label that we're going to be calling this machine, the work area, along with the origin. I like the way this looks, and I can click Finish. I can now click OK. Back on the main screen, I can take this drop-down menu and go all the way down to the bottom and click X20 Pro, and I'm all set. I'm connected up to the machine, and the first thing that I'll do is click the Home button to make sure that I've got movement on the machine and it's homing in the correct position. Perfect. It's really just that quick and easy to connect the Lightburn software up to the Atomstack X20 Pro machine. With this covered, let's take a closer look at that touchscreen that we saw a little bit earlier. When the machine first powers up, this is what the touchscreen will look like. If I go into Carve, we'll see that these are the two files that are already preloaded on the SD card. I'll back up one menu. I can go into Settings. We have an option for the touch tone. We can enable or disable that beep each time we interact with the touchscreen. Down below that is About. When we go into that, it'll tell us the current position of the machine, and it will tell us the very specific model number of the machine. I can back out of that. There's a language selection menu from Chinese, English, or Japanese. I'll click on carve one more time, and I'll go into the plywood cutting dog. And this brings up this whole other menu system, and I'm going to look at what's on the right-hand side of the screen. Down at the very bottom, we have increment move of 10 millimeters, 1 millimeter, or 0.1 millimeters. And this is controlled by the buttons here. And we'll see if I zoom out just a little bit here, that each time I hit this, I do have movement on the laser machine module. And I can hit the home button. It will rehome, and it will acknowledge that it has successfully rehomed. This is a pretty neat, very self-explanatory menu system, and again, the manual for the machine will go through how to use all of these sub-features. I'll click back to go back all the way to the main menu. The next thing that I'd like to share with you is a quick project in Lightburn software. And for this, I'm going to use some of the sample wood that comes with the machine. I'm going to be doing engraving and cutting, and because I'm doing cutting, I do have my work material elevated just a little bit off of the work surface. I elevated the work material up off the work surface. That way, when the laser starts to cut through the material, there's this air gap between the material and the sheet of metal that comes with the machine. If I didn't have that gap in there, I would get some of the laser reflection off the metal onto the back side of the material, causing some extra burning and scorching. Let's take a look at the mini project I have in Lightburn. I have the simple phrase, the laser channel, and then I've got this blue outline around it. Let's first click on the laser channel, and I'll navigate to cuts and layers, and we'll see that I have this set to fill. When I double click on this, we'll see that I have a speed of 80 millimeters per second, and I'll have the conversion to millimeters per minute. My personal preference is millimeters per second because I have other machinery in the shop that runs much faster, and if I run everything off of the same unit of measurement, it makes a lot more sense in my head. But again, this is an area that will be up to you for your personal preference. I'm running a max power of 30%. We'll see that I have bidirectional fill on, and that just means it's going to engrave in both directions as the laser head is shuttling back and forth. I have a line interval of 0.1, and that equates to 254 lines per inch, and this is just the density of how close the laser engraving lines will be when we do a project. I'll exit out of this. Next, let's take a look at this blue outline. When I double click on that layer, we'll see that I have a speed of 10 millimeters per second, but my max power is now set at 90%. I'm going to use this to cut the shape out. This is really easy. I just place the gauge down on the work material. I loosen up the knob on the front of the laser module, and I just lower the laser module until it just touches that gauge. I can now remove the gauge, and now I'm perfectly in focus. I'm now ready to turn the air assist pump on and place some safety goggles on, and I can hit the start button. Well, that 20-watt laser module made short work of this project, cut that out very quickly, and because I elevated the work material off of the included stainless steel plate that comes with the machine, there's no marking or scoring on the back side. Let's take a closer look at this. Here's the front side of it, looks very nice, and when I flip this around to the other side, we'll see that there's no smoke residue or burn marks on the back side, and this cut line is very nice and clean. This machine is fast and powerful thanks to the design by Atomstack and this 20-watt laser module. That speed and power is still accurate and very precise to produce projects even as small as this little mini project. So I'm very impressed by this machine. I definitely like it a lot. The operation is smooth and consistent. This was a fun project to make. I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give this video a like. Consider subscribing to the channel or ringing that notification bell. That way you know when more great content like this is available. Until we meet again, learn, create, and share.